Alright guys, welcome back to the channel, and as you saw in the title, we are going to be talking about Assassin's Creed Black Flag, the remake rumors. Now usually I don't cover rumors on the channel, but since this is pretty much an open secret at this point, and also this is kind of interesting and a little bit concerning, that's why I decided, yeah, let's cover this in the channel. Now let's get the important stuff immediately out of the way, so if you just want to know about that, the bullet points are: it possibly will come out this year, it will have gameplay improvements along with graphical improvements, and it of course is running on the most modern version of Anvil next. Now that's all the news that essentially came out. So if that's why you're here, well, that's that. But now I'm going to give my thoughts, my concerns with what I've seen. Now before we go any further though, you know the usual YouTube thing, like, subscribe, all that, and let's go. So what do I think of this? Well, when I first saw it and I saw that, yeah, it's being made in Anvil, I mean, that's pretty obvious. Every Assassin's Creed game has been on Anvil, and I don't think they should change that because it's a good engine. There's no need to change it. So that part is fairly obvious. But then they said that they are also going to be working on gameplay. Now, graphical improvements, yeah, of course, welcome. But gameplay, that has me a little bit concerned. Now I'll tell you why. Black Flag is a game that I love. For all its flaws, I still love the game. But it does have flaws. But for me, I never felt like Black Flag's biggest flaw was its gameplay. For me, the biggest flaw was the mission design. The mission design is extremely poor in Black Flag because most of it is either ship combat or just person-to-person combat or tailing missions. And most of those are tailing missions. With the tailing missions, is just the quantity, the sheer quantity of tailing missions that this game has. And it's not just you tailing a target. No, it has ship tailing. It has ship stealth. Some of the worst mechanics in this entire franchise is present in Black Flag. And if possible, I would want them to go around those and actually design their missions to utilize other systems, to utilize stealth better maybe, or even if there is combat, to have certain different combat scenarios, and definitely don't rely on just tailing missions throughout the entire game. That is the one thing I would want them to change. But what I wouldn't want them to change is the actual gameplay of Black Flag, because believe it or not, I actually like Black Flag's gameplay. I actually like the ship combat. Yeah, the one thing I would want added is basically rogue system backported, where others can board you as well. And I feel like that's a good system right there. So definitely want that to be backported. Maybe some new weaponry that can be attached to your ship. Maybe some sort of ship upgrades. Stuff like that is fine. But what is not fine is tinkering with possibly the parkour. The reason why I say that is because we haven't had a decent parkour system since pretty much Black Flag. Now Unity was a serviceable parkour system in my opinion. I have really soured on Unity because the more I actually try to play it, the more I try to control the system, the more it feels like I'm fighting the system for control. That is what Unity feels like. Unity feels like to do anything in this game, you have to fight the game and claim your right to do it. It's not, it doesn't follow its own rules. In fact, sometimes it doesn't even feel like it has rules. It just does some shit. Now it isn't helped by the fact that Unity was extremely glitchy and still is to this day. Like, yeah, the major bugs are gone, but if you really push the game, if you really try to push the game, it will break. That's just there. And after that, of course, we had Syndicate, where everything was dumped down. Then we had Origins, where 70% of the parkour mechanics were just removed. Then I'm not even going to talk about Odyssey and Valhalla. Mirage brought some of that back, and with Assassin's Creed Shadows, as I covered in one of the videos on my channel, it looks good for what it is, but it's still not one of the best parkour systems that we used to have. It's nowhere close to those systems, at least from what we have like seen right now. We have barely seen anything, so I don't think it even counts for that. So from the little snippets that we have seen, it doesn't seem anywhere close to what we used to have. Now, I'm not saying Black Flag is where parkour peaked. No, that would be the Ezio trilogy. But in my opinion, AC3 was a really good middle ground, and with some fixes, I think that is where you can build parkour from. I think that would be a perfect system to sort of fix and build on top on. And since Black Flag essentially carries over the same system, I have the same thoughts for Black Flag as well. So if they touch the parkour, suddenly I'm not happy because I know the way Ubisoft has tackled parkour in the modern systems and I don't like that. Then we go on to combat. I hated the combat in Valhalla. I hated the combat in Odyssey. Okay, I shouldn't say hated. Odyssey's combat was still fine, but it was over the top. Origin's combat was meh. Now I like Unity's combat, but it doesn't really suit the swashbuckling style of a pirate. So again, if combat was the thing I wanted to tweak, I would tweak the systems of Black Flag. I wouldn't change the systems of Black Flag. Maybe have slightly like more smoother animations, because somehow Assassin's Creed 3 always felt smoother than Black Flag. I don't know what that is. This is something I'm just judging visually. I haven't dived down into the actual animations. I haven't seen how they did it. So I know nothing about that. It's just the way I feel when I play it. Maybe they can change or tweak some things about that. But the actual underlying system is fun and I wouldn't change it. So these are my concerns. Now let's talk about the fact that this game is going to evidently come out this year. Now of course, take it with a huge grain of salt. Actually take it with a bucket of salt if you want. Just make sure the salt is there because you might need it. So the fact that this is coming out this year and we didn't even know its existence till basically last year, and I'm going to add another year on top of that, even though I don't think it was in development for the last 3 years, I do not think they have had enough time to significantly alter the game. I don't think they have had enough time to essentially bring the modern gameplay back to Black Flag systems. So what I think will happen is essentially they will tweak some things here and there. They will tweak the combat maybe a little bit. They will maybe change some mission designs, a few things like that. And that is what they mean when they say gameplay changes. I don't think it's going to be a massive overhaul of the gameplay of Black Flag. The overhaul will be mostly graphical. Which brings me to another concern. Now with Black Flag, the cutscenes were very stylized, but the cutscenes worked for the kind of presentation that that game had. Now, I'm not going to say that it is somehow better than what we have now. It's not. Even the terrible cutscenes of Valhalla, like the ones with basically no animation and like the terrible lighting, terrible facial models, terrible animation, you get what I mean. Even those are possibly better visually than Black Flag's cutscenes. So that part isn't a problem. The problem are animations, because Valhalla again had terrible animations. Mirage had terrible animations when it comes to cutscenes. This is just something that has been inherently present in every single Assassin's Creed game since pretty much Origins. Yes, they have some fantastic cutscenes. The ones where Basim and Eivor are sitting at the campfire, that's a great one. When they go to meet Alfred, that's a great one. There are some excellent cutscenes in these games, don't get me wrong, but they are few and far between. Now with a game like Black Flag, the scope is a lot smaller than these RPGs, so maybe they can do good cutscenes. But given the time frame, I don't think they will go for proper mocap again. Maybe they can use some of the stuff that they had from before, if they had it from before. Again, a lot of question marks are present here. How much is Ubisoft actually investing into this? And there is an asshole who lives around here somewhere who basically has an FZ, which if you guys don't know is like a 150cc motorbike, and he has straight piped it. It sounds fucking awful, but it is loud and somehow that moron enjoys it. So yeah, don't be like that guy. Anyway, coming back to the topic. So how much investment has Ubisoft actually made into this remake? I honestly doubt that much has gone into this remake, because we all know at this point, we all know Ubisoft's condition. Ubisoft is like 1 month removed from being completely bankrupt or something like that. They are not doing well. They are relying on shadows to essentially keep the company alive. And even today, we had yet another article basically talking about the Tencent and the Gimo family, essentially like talking about mergers so that they can Yves Guillemot can actually keep some control of the company, which I get it. I get him not wanting to step down. It's his company. People are talking about, yeah, he should step down and all that. And I agree, because he hasn't been that competent. But just imagine, you have worked on something for that many years in your life. You have basically built something from the ground up. You wouldn't want to leave it either. But yeah, if we are talking about what's best for Ubisoft, he probably should step down. But anyway, that's besides the point. But the point is, they don't have that kind of money. So the best case scenario for them would be to essentially make a few changes, make sure it doesn't take up that much dev time, and make sure that when the game comes out, that enough people have that nostalgia or enough people actually want to play a game like that they will just go out and buy it. It will be a low budget game with minimal sales expectations, and if it manages to do well, then that's all good. That's what I'm expecting the scale or scope of Black Flag remake to be. And so those are basically my thoughts. I think this is going to be a small scope like remake. They are not going to change that much. They are going to tweak some gameplay here and there. They are going to tweak some missions maybe. And of course the graphical overhaul that just comes from using a newer engine or a newer version of an engine. It's not that linear. They still have to put work in. It's not like you just take the assets, put in a new engine, it's somehow better. It doesn't work that way. So yeah, I think it's going to be a small scope remake. I don't think it's going to be a gigantic, like full-on rework of the game. And that's where I'm at. And that concerns me a little bit, given Ubisoft's track record. So do let me know what you guys think down in the comments below. And yeah, that's pretty much all I had to say. So peace.